I'm Stephen Ewashkiw from Adventure Yoga. Thanks for coming to class today. This is a yoga sequence for complete beginners, and this is what I consider the 10 essential poses for beginners. These are poses you're going to see all the time when you go to yoga class, and by working through this class again and again, I recommend doing it a few times, you'll start to become more confident in these poses, which will help you be confident that you're ready to go to a public yoga class. If you've got any questions about these poses, you can always put it in the comments after class, or go to my website, adventureyogaonline.com, and contact me through there if you'd like to have a private conversation about the poses. I totally get that. For now, all you need to bring to class is a towel or a blanket. That would be handy. You might need it in class, you might not. I'm going to use a bolster from my bed. That's my prompt today. You don't even need a yoga mat. Just have a seat, and I'll meet you there in a few seconds. Welcome. As I mentioned in the opening, a blanket or a cushion might be useful for this class. I have a bolster. That's what I'm using. It's something you might have in your house, so you can use that. Use a cushion or a folded up blanket and sit on it like I'm sitting on this bolster. Sit up tall and look down at the ground. Just take a couple of deeper breaths to center yourself and welcome yourself. We're going to work on 10 plus 1 yoga poses today. Yeah, that's 11, but the plus one's a bonus. And this is a yoga sequence for complete beginners. So you don't need any experience. I am here to guide you and to help you through it. Lift your gaze, uncross your legs, and come up onto your knees. Now, the first pose we're going to work on is called Child's Pose, or Balasana. Come to your hands and knees, and take your knees as wide as your mat. Have your feet flat behind you, and slide your feet together until your big toes touch. The next thing that you do is sit back on your heels or towards your heels. If you've had a knee injury, you might want to take your blanket, or in my case, the bolster, and place it on top of your calf muscles so that when you sit down, it prevents your knee joint from closing fully. That'll help protect your knee joint. If the front of your ankles, though, are tight and they are really off the ground like I'm demonstrating here, you can take the blanket or cushion and place it underneath your ankles so that you're sitting down and they're protected there. It gives them something to push into, which will help them open up over time. Now, if you've got the front of your ankles tight and the knee joint doesn't want to close, you'll need a second blanket. So you can always pause and go get that and come back. And you put the second blanket between your calves and your hamstrings. So sit back on your heels or towards your heels, and then walk your hands forward, slide your hands forward, and fold forward. If you can bring your forehead to the ground, do. But if it won't come to the ground, you can take one hand and make a fist, take the other hand and make a fist, and rest your forehead on that. Child's pose. We use this pose a lot in yoga. At the beginning of class, it's a great pose to come to if you need a break during class. We'll often see it as we're getting into the cool down at the end of class. So you can do it with your arms stretched out and forehead on the ground. Or if your forehead won't reach the ground, you can stack your fists. If having your arms out in front of you doesn't feel good, you can bring your arms at your sides Bring your hands under your shoulders and push yourself up to seated. And then if you've got the props there, move the props out of the way. Move them off to the side so you can stand up to do this, because our next pose is standing. And then stand, if you have a yoga mat, on your mat. Bring your feet about hip distance apart. What is hip distance apart? It is something quite accurate, but a good general guideline is if you bring your fists together and then bend your knees and bring your hands down to the ground, if you can fit both your fists between your feet, that's hip distance apart. And then work to make your feet parallel to each other, which is roughly second toe pointing straight ahead. Stretch your arms down at your sides, straighten your arms and straighten your legs. This is Tadasana. This is mountain pose. This is a pose we come to a lot in yoga. Work to stack your head over your shoulders, over your hips, over your ankles. Straight line. And steady your breath. Mountain pose. Work to be steady in your breath and your body like a mountain. Stand at the top of your mat if you have a mat in Tadasana. If you don't have a mat, just stand so you've got some space behind you because we're going to step back in a moment. Straighten your arms at your sides. Look forward. Bend your knees a little and fold forward and touch the ground. So bend your knees enough so that you can touch the ground. Slide your hands beside your feet, so bend your knees enough so that you can touch the ground with your hands beside your feet. And then step your right leg straight back for lunge pose. You're going to have two options here. You're going to have the option of knee off the ground or knee on the ground. Let's start with knee on the ground. So bring your right knee down to the ground. Work to have your left ankle underneath your left knee. So it's a knee over ankle, shin roughly straight up and down. And just like we did in Tadasana, work to have your left foot so that your second toe is roughly pointing straight ahead. Push down through your right toes, so tuck them underneath you. Push down through your hands. You can see that I'm on my fingertips. I really like fingertips in lunges. It helps build strength in your hands, and it gives you a little more length for your arms so that you're not dropping down and resting on your leg. Lift up through your chest. So you can stay here with your right knee on the ground, or you can bring your right knee off the ground for lunge pose. Look at your back foot. It's hard to look at it. Look back, twist and look a little. You're working to have your heel over the ball of your foot. So not stretching way back, not rolling forward, but straight up and down as a good guideline. At the same time as knee over ankle. I like that same alignment in your back heel, whether your knee is on the ground or off the ground. If your knee is on the ground, bring it off the ground because we're going to step forward. So everybody bend your right knee a little and step forward. It can take 1, 2, 10 steps to get forward, whatever it takes you. And then step your left leg back and we'll do the lunge on the other side. Bring your left knee down to the ground so we can adjust the front leg if necessary so that your ankle is underneath your knee, shins straight up and down, second toe roughly pointing straight ahead. Work to have your left heel straight up and down. That's actually alignment that's fairly easy to find when your knee is on the ground. But when your knee comes off the ground, it's easier to move around on your toes and find all sorts of options. Work to have the balls of your feet pushing down, the balls of your toes pushing down, heel straight up. And then look forward. Lunge. If your knee is on the ground, bring it off the ground. Bend your knee a little and step forward. Again, if you can do this in one step, it's a big step. You can do that, or take as many steps as you need to get your left leg forward. Place your hands on your waist, bend your knees, everybody, and stand up. back to mountain pose. Stretch your arms at your sides. Steady your breath. Bend your knees and fold forward again. Bring your hands beside your feet. So bend your knees as much as you need to touch the ground and step your right leg back again. Lunge, but this time we're just going to use the lunge as a transition. Place your right hand flat on the ground and step your left foot back. Place your left hand flat on the ground. Bring your shoulders over your wrists. Plank pose. Now I know this pose is a hard one to hold, so everybody bring your knees down to the ground. When you bring your knees to the ground in plank pose, that's a great modification. What I want you to work against, though, is sticking your butt up into the air when you do that. It's a really common tendency. So instead, plank pose is named after like a plank of wood. So we're looking for a straight line from our heels to our hips to our shoulders to the back of our head. And if you bring your knees down to the ground, instead of starting at the heels, that straight line starts at our knees. So the back of our knees, back of our hips, back of our shoulders, back of our head. Straight line, rather than a bent board, which is what we get if we stick our butt up in the air. So just engage your butt a little more to keep it strong and tight, to keep opening out your hips. And everybody bring your shoulders over your wrists. So your arms are straight up and down. I think I am a little far forward. So I'm going to take my knees back so that my shoulders are over my wrists. Push down through your hands. And if your knees are down and you want to play with it, bringing them off the ground, bring them off the ground. Plank pose. They're both plank pose. Spread your fingers. And bring your knees down to the ground. Move your hips back. Move your shoulders back just to relax the pressure in your hands a little. Before we move to the next pose, I want to talk about what your hands are doing in plank pose just for a moment. What we're going to work on is the bones at the front of your wrists, that those bones line up with the top of your mat. Or if you're not using a mat, maybe you have lines in the floor and you can use those as a good guideline. So it's wrists straight. It's not hands turning in. It's not hands turning out. But it's wrists straight. Find that. There's a lot of other alignment work we can do, but this is enough for today. And then bring your shoulders over your wrists again. If you're going to keep your knees on the ground, engage your butt, work to have that straight line. It's not parallel to the ground, but straight line from the back of your head, back of your shoulders, back of your butt, and the back of your knees. And if you bring your knees off the ground, add your heels into that line. And then push through your hands. And everybody bring your knees off the ground, but everybody also bend your knees a little. Then push your hands down and forward so that you can move your hips back and lift your hips up. Keep your knees bent. Push your hands down and forward. Downward facing dog. Move your ears in line with your arms. Keep your knees bent. In the final form of downward facing dog, we do it with straight legs, but that's something I generally instruct for students who've been practicing for a long time, or students who have really open hamstrings and are used to downward facing dog. Instead, keep your knees bent so that you can find more length for your spine and lift your hips up and back. Look forward. Walk forward. Take as many steps as you need to walk forward. Have your feet about hip distance apart. Since you're in the forward fold here, you can work on that here. You can bring your fists together and bring your fists between your feet to check it out. How are you doing with feet hip distance apart? And then touch the ground. Bend your knees as much as you need to touch the ground. Relax your head and fold over your legs. This is called Uttanasana, or forward fold. When you do the forward fold, I would like you to touch the ground always, unless the teacher's asking for something else. But don't hang out with your hands off the ground. By touching the ground, bending your knees if you need to touch the ground, it's going to give you the opportunity to find more opening in the upper backs of your legs or your hamstrings. Move your chest back towards your legs. Uttanasana. Slide your hands beside your feet and step your right leg back again. Lunge pose. Now I seem to be walking towards the back of my mat, so I'm going to use my toes to walk my left foot forward. So if you need to find a little more length, you can do that as well. Have your left knee over your left ankle. And then if you're using a mat, walk your left foot over to the right a little, so it's closer to the middle of your mat. Look back at your right foot, everybody, and then turn your right heel in and down so that it's pushing down into the ground. So that your right foot and your left foot are perpendicular to each other. Then push down through your feet and lift up through your torso and bring your hands onto your waist. So now that I'm getting here, I'm saying I'm a little bit long in my stance. If you need to shorten your stance, just walk your back foot forward a little. How do you know if you need to shorten your stance? Great question. Thanks for asking. What we're working for here is same alignment as the lunge in your front leg. So knee over your ankle, left foot straight ahead, and your back foot parallel to the short edge of your mat, the back of your mat if you're using a mat, or straight out to the side, or perpendicular to your front foot. And we're working for front heel and back foot cutting through. So what I mean by that is the middle of your left heel would cut through the middle of your right arch. So they'd make a T shape if they came together. Then stretch your arms out to your sides and look over your front fingers, your left fingers. And then stretch your left knee forward so it's over your ankle. This is a lot of work, I know. This is warrior two. And then to come out, straighten your left leg. Bring your hands down to the ground. You'll probably need to bend your left knee again and lift your right heel up. So it's back to the lunge shape. Walk your left foot over a little to the left and then step forward. Again, take as many steps as you need to step your right leg forward. And step your left leg back for the lunge. Turn your left heel in and down. Walk your right foot over to the left a little bit. So again, we're going for that same setup with our feet. Right foot straight ahead, roughly at the middle of your mat if you're using a mat. Left foot, back foot, straight to the short edge of your mat, or perpendicular to your right foot. And so the heel of your right foot would cut through the middle of your left foot if they came together here. Push down through your feet, bend your right knee a little, lift your torso, and then stretch your right knee forward so that it's over your ankle. Do your best. That's all you need to do. That's a good goal, is knee over the ankle, but it's not the be all and end all. Stretch your arms out to your sides. Stretch up through your spine rather than leaning forward. Warrior two. Things like knee over ankle, back leg straight, hips low, arms parallel to the ground. Those are really good guidelines to help you figure out where to go in the pose. But it doesn't mean you have to be there today. All you have to do today is your best. To come out, straighten your right leg sub. Bring your hands down and lift your left heel up. Walk your right foot over to the right a little, and then you're going to step your left foot forward. Bend your knee, take as many steps as you need, and step your left foot forward. Come back to the forward fold. Have your fingertips on the ground. Bend your knees as much as you need to so that you can touch the ground and fold over your legs. Forward fold. Slide your hands forward a little. Stay up on your fingertips. Push down through your fingertips and straighten your arms. Look down at the ground and lengthen through the back of your neck. This is called half forward fold. And then bend your elbows, lower your chest, forward fold, or Uttanasana in Sanskrit. And then do that half forward fold again. Push down with your hands, straighten your arms, lift your chest, lengthen through your neck. Half forward fold, Ardha Uttanasana. And then fold forward again. Place your hands on your waist, bend your knees a little more, and stand up. Stretch your arms at your sides, mountain pose. Bend your knees, fold forward. Step your right leg back, but this time go a little bit shorter in your stance than the lunge. So if you went back to the length of your lunge, just walk your right foot forward a little. Then turn your right heel in and down so that your right foot is turning forward at an angle. Bend into your left knee, push through your feet and come up. Bring your hands to your waist. Pull your left hip back a little and pull your right hip forward. So twist your hips so that they're facing forward, so that your chest is facing forward. And then bend into your left knee a little more. You can push with your right foot to bend into your left knee. And then stretch your arms up, hands shoulder distance apart, and look forward. We did Warrior 2 just a moment ago. This is Warrior 1. Again, work for knee over ankle, and work to have your chest facing forward. Warrior 1. To come out, bring your hands down to the ground as you lift your right heel. Step your right foot forward, and step your left foot back. Again, a slightly shorter stance than for lunge or Warrior 2. Turn your left heel in and down so that your left foot is turned at an angle and flat on the ground. Push down through your feet and your hands, lift your torso, bring your hands onto your waist. And then square your hips towards the top of your mat. That means pull your right hip back, pull your left hip forward so that they're roughly facing forward evenly. So your chest is facing forward evenly. Push through your left foot, stretch your right knee over your ankle, and stretch your arms up overhead. Warrior 1. To come out, bring your hands down to the ground, lift your left heel, and step your left leg forward. And then sit down. Almost done. We just got one more pose, and then we've got our bonus pose. So stretch your legs out in front of you. Bend your right leg and place your right foot on the ground. And then take your right foot and cross it over your left leg. Take your right hand back behind you, and you can come up onto your fingertips or place your right hand flat behind you. And then stretch your left arm up. Twist to the right and touch your left arm. So bend your left elbow and touch your left arm onto your right leg. Look over your right shoulder or look to the right. You don't have to do a crazy twist here, just do a gentle twist. Stretch up through your spine. Move your shoulders back to open your chest and encourage a little bit of a twist. This twist is called Ardha Matsyendrasana in Sanskrit. Matsyendra was the Lord of Fishes, so it's called Lord of the Fishes pose. And then come back to center and untwist. Take your right leg, you can always pick it up, and over your left leg and stretch your right leg straight. Bend your left knee. Pick it up and place it on the other side of your right leg. Take your left hand back behind you. Stretch your right arm out. Twist to the left and touch your right arm onto your left leg. Bend your elbow, touch. Move your shoulders back and sit up tall. Ardha Matsyendrasana. In the final form of this pose, we would also bend the bottom leg, but for beginners, I don't teach that. It's just a little too much. This is plenty. Look over your left shoulder. And then untwist. Bring your left foot up and over, and stretch your left leg straight. Lie down on your back. So I like to move my hips forward a little and then stretch my legs out. Stretch your legs straight out. Stretch your arms up and overhead. Point your toes. Stretch through your fingers. Just stretch. And then we get to do the bonus pose, which is called Savasana. It's the resting pose at the end of yoga class. So to come into it, bring your arms down at your sides and turn your palms up. Separate your feet so that they're a little bit wider than your hips, and then turn your legs out so you can relax your feet, relax your legs, relax your fingers, and you can relax your eyes or close your eyes. And generally, we will lie down like this in Shavasana for a few minutes at the end of class. But since this is a short class, that's as long as we'll take here. It's just to give you a taste of it. If you'd like longer here, just reach over and pause the video. Deepen your breath. Move your fingers and toes. Bend your knees. Turn onto your right side. And then push yourself up to seated. Find your blanket or cushion and sit on that again. Sit cross-legged. Now, if sitting cross-legged isn't comfortable for you, you don't have to. You can always sit on a chair or just sit however is comfortable. Thank you so much for wanting to explore yoga. I hope that this has helped you figure out a little bit about how to do these poses, and if you've got any questions, please put it in the comments for this video and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. At the end of class, we'll often bring our hands together in prayer and say Namaste. And the teacher generally says it, and then the students say it back. You don't have to do that. I do that regularly in classes, but not always. To me, I use it as a way of saying thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your focus. Thank you for wanting to work on yourself. Really, Namaste is used as a greeting in Northern India, like a hello. But here, it just kind of means thank you. If you'd like to do that, bring your hands together in prayer. Namaste. Thanks. Hope to see you soon. Great work today. I know I can't see you, but I know if you've made it this far, you did great work, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited for your yoga journey. Like, seriously, this is my passion, this is my life, and I am so glad that you are interested in finding out more about the poses and helping yourself find the strength and the stability to hold yourself up in your yoga class, and it's going to help you in your life as well, in whatever adventures you have. These poses are really the essential poses to get you grounded in your practice. So come back to this again and again, and you'll start to learn what it means to have your feet parallel. You'll start to learn what it means to have your knee over your ankle. All of this stuff will become second nature in time. Just practice, take it slow, have patience, and you'll get there. If you've got any questions, just send me a message, and I am so happy to talk to you about your yoga journey. if you would like to do some more of my beginners classes, I'm putting together a whole series of classes. So in the description for this video, you'll find links to those. And if you just click there, you'll find my standing pose class for complete beginners, which is some of the work that we did in class today and some new poses for you. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, you can just click on my picture there to subscribe. See you on the mat soon.